I was standing in my kitchen, holding my late husband's wedding ring, when I realized my own son had been in my bedroom that morning. The cameras his wife installed to check on me had captured everything, and I mean everything. Her hand reaching into my jewelry box, his voice saying, "Just take the diamond pieces. She'll think she misplaced them." And then the words that changed everything. "Once we get power of attorney, the rest is ours anyway." I'm not a vengeful woman. I raised my son to be honest, hardworking, decent. But as I sat there watching that footage at 2 a.m, my hands shaking so badly I could barely hold my phone, I realized I didn't know him at all anymore. My name is Catherine Hayes, and I'm 71 years old. I never thought I'd be telling this story. For 60 years, I lived what I considered a blessed life. I married my high school sweetheart, Robert, when I was 19. We built a good life together in Charleston, South Carolina. Robert worked as an architect, and I taught 3rd grade for 35 years. We had one child, our son Michael, who we poured everything into. When Robert died 3 years ago from a sudden heart attack, a piece of me died with him. We'd been married for 49 years. Michael was wonderful during that time. He flew in from Atlanta every weekend for 2 months. He held me while I cried. He helped me sort through Robert's things. He told me I'd never be alone, that he and his wife Jennifer would always take care of me. I believed him. I want you to understand something before I go any further. I wasn't some naive old woman. I had my wits about me. I managed my own finances, drove my own car, maintained my home, and lived independently. Yes, I was lonely. Yes, I missed my husband desperately. But I was capable and clear-minded. This is important because of what came next. About 6 months ago, Jennifer started calling more frequently. At first, I was touched. She'd always been pleasant enough, but we'd never been particularly close. She was one of those polished women, always perfectly dressed, always said the right things, but there was something almost rehearsed about her warmth. Still, I appreciated the attention. She'd call and chat about her day, ask about mine, tell me about Michael's work. It felt nice to be included. Then the visit started. She'd drive down from Atlanta, supposedly to spend quality time with me. She'd take me to lunch, help me around the house, go through my closets, and suggest we declutter. At the time, I thought she was being helpful. She had this way of making suggestions that sounded like genuine concern. "Catherine, these stairs are so steep. Have you thought about a stair lift? Catherine, the silverware is so heavy. Wouldn't these lighter ones be easier? Catherine, you have so much jewelry. Do you ever worry about keeping it all here? Maybe we should look into a safety deposit box." I should have seen it then. But when you're lonely, when someone is paying attention to you, you want to believe they care. You want to believe you matter to them. The camera suggestion came on a Tuesday afternoon in late April. Jennifer arrived with a large shopping bag and that bright smile of hers. "Mom, Catherine," she said, she'd started calling me that recently, "I got you something. Michael and I have been so worried about you being here alone. What if you fall? What if something happens and no one knows? These are indoor cameras. They connect to an app on our phones so we can check on you anytime." I hesitated. Something about it felt intrusive. "Jennifer, I'm fine. I don't need to be monitored like a child." Her face fell. She looked genuinely hurt, and I felt guilty immediately. "Oh, Catherine, it's not about monitoring you. It's about safety, about peace of mind. Michael barely sleeps anymore worrying about you. Please, just try them. If you don't like them, we'll take them out." That phrase, "Michael barely sleeps anymore worrying about you," that's what got me. The idea that I was causing my son stress, keeping him up at night. What mother wants that? "Where would you put them?" I asked. "Just a few key places. One in the living room, one in the kitchen, one in the hallway. Just so if anything happens, we can see and get help to you quickly." It sounded reasonable. It sounded caring. I agreed. She installed them that afternoon. She was very particular about the angles, adjusting them several times. She showed me how they worked, how they had night vision, how they recorded continuously to a cloud service. "But don't worry," she said, "only Michael and I have access to the app. Your privacy is completely protected." I remember nodding, watching her set them up, and feeling grateful. grateful that someone cared enough to go to this trouble. I was such a fool. For the first few weeks, nothing seemed different. Jennifer called to check in. Michael called more often. They'd mention things they'd seen on the cameras, but it was always innocent. Saw you had lunch with Dorothy today. How is she? Or, the garden looks beautiful on camera, Mom. Then small things started disappearing. It began with a gold bracelet Robert had given me for our 30th anniversary. I kept it in my jewelry box on my dresser. One day, I went to wear it and it was gone. I searched everywhere. I tore my bedroom apart. I thought I was losing my mind. When I mentioned it to Jennifer during one of her visits, she looked concerned. "Oh, Catherine, that's worrying. Are you sure you didn't move it somewhere else? Maybe we should talk to your doctor about your memory." My memory. She planted that seed so carefully. She made me doubt myself. 2 weeks later, a diamond pendant was missing, then a ruby ring, then my grandmother's antique brooch that was worth more, then my car. Each time, I'd search frantically. Each time, I'd end up doubting myself more. Was I developing dementia? Was I misplacing things and forgetting? Jennifer suggested I make a list of where I put things. She suggested I see a neurologist. She suggested very gently that maybe I shouldn't be living alone. I started to believe her. I started to think something was wrong with me. Then came the conversation I wasn't supposed to hear. It was a Thursday evening in late September. I'd been at my book club and came home around 9. I was tired, went straight to bed, didn't bother with my usual routine of checking that all the doors were locked. I set my alarm for 7, as always, and fell asleep. But I woke up at 1:47 a.m. Just woke up suddenly, completely alert, with a strange feeling. I've learned to trust these feelings as I've gotten older. There was something wrong, some instinct telling me to pay attention. I got up and went to get some water. As I passed through the hallway, I noticed something. The camera light was blinking differently. I stood there in my nightgown, staring at that little red light, and a thought occurred to me that had never crossed my mind before. If Jennifer and Michael could see the camera footage, why couldn't I? I went to my office, Robert's old office that I'd kept exactly as he left it, and opened my laptop. Jennifer had helped me set up the camera app on my phone, but I'd never actually opened it. I didn't want to watch myself going about my daily life. It felt strange, narcissistic somehow. But that night, I downloaded the app on my computer. I logged in with the credentials Jennifer had set up for me. And there I was, a live feed of my own hallway, where I'd been standing just moments before. My hands were trembling. I don't know why, but I knew I was about to find something. That instinct again. I clicked on the recorded footage. The app showed everything was saved for the past 90 days. I started scrolling backward through hours of boring footage of my empty house, of me moving through rooms, of my mundane daily life. Then I saw it. Tuesday morning, 10:35 a.m. I'd been at the grocery store. I always went Tuesday mornings. And there, on my screen, was Jennifer, letting herself into my house with a key I didn't know she had. I watched her walk through my home like she owned it. She went straight upstairs. The hallway camera had a partial view into my bedroom when the door was fully open. I watched her push my door open wide. I watched her go directly to my dresser. I watched her open my jewelry box. My hands were shaking so hard I almost couldn't control the mouse. I backed up the footage. I watched it again. There was no mistake. She was taking things, carefully, methodically, selecting pieces and putting them in her purse. She knew exactly what she was looking for. She spent maybe 5 minutes in my room, then left. I checked other dates. May 15th, June 3rd, July 18th, August 9th. Every single time I was out of the house for any length of time, she'd been there, taking my jewelry, going through my things. But it was September 24th that destroyed me. That was 4 days ago. I'd been at my dentist appointment. The footage showed both of them arriving together at 2:15 p.m., Michael and Jennifer entering my home like thieves. I turned up the volume with shaking hands. "In the bedroom, mostly," Jennifer was saying. "I've been taking the smaller pieces, but the diamond set is too noticeable. I need you to help me figure out if she has a hidden safe or something." Jesus, Jen, I still don't feel right about this. That was my son's voice. My Michael. We've been over this. Your mother is clearly declining. You've seen how forgetful she's getting. We're just moving things to safety before she loses everything or gives it away to some scam artist. But we're lying to her. We're protecting her and protecting our inheritance. That jewelry is worth over $200,000, Michael. Do you want her to flush that away because she can't remember where she put things? Besides, once we get the power of attorney set up, I can't believe I'm doing this. She's my mother. And you love her. This is love. You're making sure she's taken care of, and you're making sure that what your father worked for stays in the family. Now come on, help me get that painting down. The one in her bedroom. I had it appraised online. It's worth at least $50,000. I stopped the video. I couldn't breathe. My chest felt like it was being crushed. My son, my baby boy. The child I'd raised to be good and honest and kind. He was stealing from me. Not just stealing, plotting to have me declared incompetent so they could take control of everything. I sat in that office until sunrise, watching footage, hours of it. Conversations about how much my house was worth, discussions about which of my possessions they'd keep and which they'd sell, debates about whether they should move me into a nice facility or keep me at home with a nurse they could control. The worst part? Jennifer's voice saying, "She won't last more than 5 years. Her mother died at 74, remember? We just need to be patient and play the role. Keep acting concerned. Keep suggesting she's declining. Plant seeds with her friends. By the time we're done, everyone will think putting her in memory care was a mercy." And Michael, he didn't argue. He didn't defend me. He just asked, "Do you think the Alzheimer's thing will work? What if she gets tested and she's fine?" Then we emphasize the isolation, the depression, the inability to care for herself. There are ways, Michael. Trust me. I want you to understand what it feels like to hear your own child discuss your demise, like it's a business transaction. To hear them plan your imprisonment in a nursing home you don't need. To realize that every concerned phone call, every worried visit, every gentle suggestion that maybe you're not as sharp as you used to be, all of it was a calculated lie. The sun came up, and I was still sitting there. I'd cried all the tears I had. Now I just felt cold, numb, and then, suddenly, very clear about what I needed to do. I didn't sleep. I showered, dressed in my best suit, the navy one I'd worn to Robert's funeral, and by 8:30 a.m., I was sitting in my attorney's office. Harold Webb had been our lawyer for 30 years. He'd drawn up our wills, handled the estate when Robert died, and knew our family well. He was semi-retired now, but I'd called his emergency number, and he'd agreed to see me immediately. "Catherine," he said, his kind eyes full of concern. "What's happened?" I handed him my phone. "I need you to watch something." I'd edited together the key pieces of footage. Jennifer stealing jewelry, the conversations between her and Michael, their planning, 20 minutes of undeniable evidence. Harold watched in silence, his expression growing darker. When it finished, he set down the phone and removed his glasses. "My God, Catherine. I need to change my will. Immediately, today." "Of course. But Catherine, this is theft. Conspiracy. You need to go to the police." "I will. But first I need to make sure that no matter what they try to do, they can't touch what Robert and I built. Can we do a new will today?" He nodded slowly. "Yes. I'll draft something immediately. But Catherine, given what's happening, I strongly suggest we do more than just change your will. We need to protect you." Over the next 4 hours, Harold and I worked through everything. We created a new will that left my entire estate to charity. The children's hospital where Robert had volunteered, the literacy program I'd supported for years, the animal shelter. Michael would receive $1 and a letter explaining exactly why. But we went further. Harold helped me set up an irrevocable trust for anything I might inherit or receive in the future. We documented everything, created multiple copies of the camera footage. He helped me file a police report. He connected me with a detective he knew personally. Then he made a call to a colleague who specialized in elder law. Within 2 hours, I had restraining orders being prepared and an emergency hearing scheduled for the following week to ensure Michael and Jennifer couldn't claim any kind of emergency guardianship or power of attorney. They can try, Harold said grimly, but with this evidence and these protections, they won't succeed. No judge will grant them authority over you when there's clear evidence of theft and exploitation. I authorized him to hire a private investigator to document any other thefts or suspicious activity. I changed every lock in my house. I moved my remaining jewelry to a bank safety deposit box. I closed the joint account I'd foolishly opened with Michael 6 months earlier. Jennifer's suggestion, of course. Just in case you need help with bills, Mom. Then I went home and waited. Jennifer called that afternoon. Her voice was sugar-sweet, as always. Mom, Catherine, I was thinking of driving down tomorrow to take you to lunch. Doesn't that sound nice? Actually, Jennifer, why don't you and Michael both come? I'd love to see you both. Come for dinner tomorrow night. Say 6 o'clock? The pause was slight, but I heard it. Oh, well, Michael has work, but... I insist. I have something important to discuss with both of you. Family matters. Is everything all right? You sound strange. I smiled, even though she couldn't see me. Everything is perfectly clear, actually. I'll see you both tomorrow at 6. I spent that next day cooking. Robert's favorite pot roast, roasted vegetables, homemade rolls. I set the dining room table with our wedding china. I put on the diamond earrings Robert had given me for our 25th anniversary. One of the few pieces Jennifer hadn't managed to steal yet. They arrived at 6:03 p.m. I watched them on the camera footage. They didn't know I'd accessed it. I saw them sitting in the car for 2 minutes, Jennifer talking rapidly, Michael looking nervous. Then they composed themselves, put on their concerned faces, and approached my door. Mom! Michael hugged me and I let him. I studied his face, looking for the son I'd raised, but I only saw a stranger. You look great. What's the occasion? Family dinner, I said simply. Come in. Everything's ready. We sat down. I served the food. We made small talk about the weather, about Michael's work, about nothing important. They kept exchanging glances, clearly wondering what this was about. Finally, after I'd cleared the main course, I brought out dessert, Robert's favorite apple pie, and 3 envelopes. Before we have pie, I said, sitting down and folding my hands, I have something for each of you. Jennifer's smile was tight. Catherine, what's this about? I slid an envelope across to each of them. Open them. Michael opened his first. I watched the color drain from his face as he pulled out the printed screenshots from the camera footage. Jennifer and him in my bedroom, Jennifer going through my jewelry, transcripts of their conversations. Jennifer opened hers. Inside was a copy of my new will, a cease and desist letter from my attorney, and copies of the police report. The silence was deafening. Mom, Michael started, but I held up my hand. Do you want to know what the worst part is? My voice was steady, calm. I'd practiced this. It wasn't the stealing. Things are just things. I could have forgiven the jewelry, the paintings, even the money. But you tried to convince me I was losing my mind. You tried to make me doubt my own sanity. You were planning to lock me away in a nursing home I don't need so you could control everything I have. It's not... We weren't... Jennifer's face was red. Those cameras were for your safety. The cameras, I said, meeting her eyes, showed me exactly who you are. Both of you. Michael was crying, actual tears running down his face. Mom, please, I never wanted... Jennifer said you were declining, that we needed to... Don't. The word came out harder than I intended. Don't you dare blame her. You're a grown man, Michael. You made choices. You chose greed over integrity. You chose to betray me. Please, he whispered. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. The jewelry you took is worth approximately $215,000. I have documentation of every piece, every date you took them. The police have been notified. My attorney has been notified. You have 2 choices. You can return everything within 48 hours, or you can be arrested for theft and elder abuse. Jennifer stood up, knocking her chair back. You can't prove anything. That footage could be edited, manipulated. Sit down. I didn't raise my voice, but something in my tone made her sit. There are 3 copies of that footage. One with my attorney, one with the police, and one in a safe place you'll never find. It's time-stamped, authenticated, and undeniable. And Jennifer, I also have footage of you taking things from my home on 17 separate occasions, dating back to May. Just you, alone, before Michael was involved. She went pale. You're a thief and a con artist. You saw a lonely widow and saw opportunity, and you used my son's love for me to manipulate him into helping you. That's not true, Michael protested. Mom, I love you. I was trying to protect you. You were trying to rob me. The words exploded out of me, and suddenly I wasn't calm anymore. I was furious. Decades of rage, grief, betrayal, all of it flooding out. You stood in this house, the house your father built, and discussed how long I'd probably live. You talked about putting me away like I'm some inconvenient problem to be solved. I raised you, Michael. I sacrificed everything for you. I worked 2 jobs to put you through college. Your father worked himself into an early grave to give you the life you wanted. And this is how you repay us? He was sobbing now, his face in his hands. Jennifer was frozen, calculating. I could see her mind working, trying to find an angle. Get out of my house, I said quietly. Both of you. You have 48 hours to return my property. After that, I'm prosecuting to the fullest extent of the law. You're no longer welcome in my home. You're no longer in my will. And Michael? I waited until he looked up, his face destroyed. You're no longer my son. Mom, please, get out! They left. Jennifer practically dragged Michael out while he begged and apologized. I watched from the window as they got in their car. I saw Jennifer yelling at him, saw him collapsed against the steering wheel. Then they drove away. I stood there for a long time, holding on to the back of Robert's chair, the chair he'd sat in for every family dinner for 40 years. And I cried. Not for what I'd lost, but for what had never really existed. The son I thought I'd raised, the family I thought I had, it had all been an illusion. That was 6 weeks ago. Michael returned the jewelry 3 days later. He came alone, left it in a box on my porch, and drove away. He didn't knock. I watched him on the cameras, the same cameras that had exposed his betrayal. He looked broken. Part of me felt vindicated. Part of me felt sick. The investigation is ongoing. Jennifer, it turns out, had done this before. The private investigator Harold hired discovered she'd had an elderly aunt who'd also mysteriously developed dementia and ended up in a nursing home while Jennifer managed her affairs. That aunt's estate had been drained. The authorities are looking into it now. Michael hasn't been charged. The district attorney says that because he returned the items and because there's evidence Jennifer manipulated him, they're focused primarily on her, but he's cooperating with the investigation. Harold says he calls the office regularly, begging for a chance to apologize to me in person. I haven't taken his calls. I don't know if I will. My friends have rallied around me. Dorothy, who's been my best friend for 40 years, comes over 3 times a week. My book club has adopted me as their special project. The isolation Jennifer was counting on? It never materialized. Turns out when you tell people the truth about what happened, they show up. They care. They help. I'm seeing a therapist. Dr. Martinez specializes in family trauma and elder abuse. She's helping me process everything, the betrayal, the grief, the anger. She says what I'm feeling is normal. She says I'll heal. Some days I believe her. The cameras are gone. I had Harold's investigator remove them all and destroy them. I don't need to be watched. I don't need protection from strangers. The real danger was already inside my home, wearing a smile and calling me Mom. I've started painting again, something I gave up decades ago to focus on my family. There's a studio class at the community center, and I've met wonderful people there. I'm learning that there's life after betrayal, that you can rebuild at 71, that family isn't always blood. Harold helped me update my estate plan one more time. The bulk of it still goes to charity, but I've included provisions for my friends, for the causes I care about, for making sure that whatever I leave behind does good in the world. There's a small amount set aside for Michael. Not nothing, but not what it would have been. It's contingent on him. staying clean of any criminal charges, and completing family counseling. Harold thinks I'm being too generous. Maybe I am. Because here's what I've learned. You can be wise and still be fooled by people you love. You can be strong and still be vulnerable to manipulation. You can be independent and still crave connection so badly that you miss red flags. But you can also be 71 years old and find the courage to stand up for yourself. You can be a widow and still be powerful. You can be betrayed by your own child and still choose to keep living, keep trusting carefully, keep opening your heart to the people who deserve it. Jennifer is facing multiple charges: elder abuse, theft, fraud. Her trial is scheduled for next spring. I'll testify if I need to, though Harold thinks the video evidence is so strong, she'll take a plea deal. As for Michael, I don't know what our future holds. Maybe someday I'll be ready to hear his apology. Maybe someday I'll be able to look at him and see my son again instead of the man who tried to steal my life. But that day isn't today, and it might never come. And I've made peace with that. The hardest thing, and I want to be honest with you about this, is the loneliness. Not because I don't have people around me, I do. But there's a specific kind of loneliness that comes from losing your child. Even a child who betrayed you. Even a child you're better off without. It's a grief that has no clean ending, no resolution. He's alive, but I've lost him anyway. Dr. Martinez says grief isn't linear. Some days I'm angry. Some days I'm sad. Some days I'm proud of myself for being strong. And some days I look at the phone and wish he'd call, wish I could answer, wish things were different. But wishes don't change reality. And reality is this: I'm a survivor. I caught them in time. I protected myself. I took action. And now I'm learning how to build a life that belongs fully to me, not to the fantasy of family I'd been clinging to. The cameras Jennifer installed to control me, they set me free. They showed me the truth. And the truth, as painful as it was exactly what I needed. I'm Catherine Hayes. I'm 71 years old. I live alone in Charleston, South Carolina. I'm a widow, a retired teacher, an artist, a friend, and I'm stronger than I ever knew I could be. And that's the story of how I reclaimed my life.